Hello, I'm back with my napkin play with the iron and what I'm going to do with these things. So I've started on a couple where I folded them into envelopes and pockets and see how they will work. Just thought I would see if I could manipulate them before I turn the camera on. So this one is the one where the really heavy duty plastic bag that the stevia came in, the first layer of the plastic came off onto the music paper instead of sticking it down. So there must be several layers of plastic on these, and the first layer is all that activated. So I thought I would just try to still use this piece. So it's sort of plasticized the outside of this envelope, which is kind of cool. So I've just went up the corners with tacky glue, and because this is sort of crinkly and not flat, I did this about maybe 5 minutes ago, and I just used these little clamps to hold it down until it has a chance to set. So that just looked like it needed a bit more. So I have a ton of these tiny little bulldog clips, and that'll just hold it. It's not very tight, but it's just holding it in place until it has a chance to set up. So I think that's going to work out fine, and it's very crinkly, but I kind of like it. I'll decorate that further later. And then this one was one of the bright colored papers. And so I was able to make it into a tall pocket. And I could actually make this into two short ones. I could make one that's got blue at the top and one that's just napkin if I don't find a use for this really tall one. So I just glued along the bottom. I trimmed the sides and glued up the side. It could use a little bit more too. Right along the edge there. And it should hold fine. It's paper to paper now. It was just that it was kind of curled. It was like this, curled up. So when I folded it back the other way and creased it and used my bone folder on it, it flattened it. And then putting these clamps on, I think, helped too. So I think that's going to work out fine. And this has got a bit of the plasticized feel up at the top here, which is going to make it a more sturdy pocket. And like I say, I could cut this here and cut another notch and make another pocket, but I'll leave it tall for now. Probably more likely to use a short pocket, but I'll just leave it tall for now. We'll do this pink one while we've got it out. So it was the same napkin, just done on a pink background instead of a blue background. I got this napkin at a grocery store, believe it or not, at Foodland last summer, and never really used it yet. So I'm just going to take the top edge off of the paper, put it in the back so I can see what I'm doing, and hopefully get down to where it's more stuck down. It's not very straight. I think this is going to be a fold over anyway. And I don't know whether to save that little tiny scrap or not. For now, I will. And at the other end, same thing. I will just take a sliver off of the height just to get me down to where everything is glued down. And then trim off this bottom bit of plastic. And like I say, when you fold it back and use the bone folder, it will start to comply with your wishes. And I want it just enough of a fold over. This one will be a little wider than the other one, which is fine. See, this didn't really go all the way to the edge, so I can use the glue stick, although it's kind of, might as well have just glue stick the whole thing, but just so that it's not loose, do that. I think probably, because this is coming up, I would just glue this down inside a book instead of trying to leave it loose. And that's going to need some heavy clamping, but I'm going to cut my notch first. So I quite often use my whale tail tab, but I got a new 2-inch circle punch, just new to me, not brand new, off the marketplace. So I'm going to center that up on the front, about there, and give it a, ooh. I'm not sure if that's going to be centered. It was hard to, yeah, no, it's not centered. I got 3 on this side and 4 on this side, so maybe I'll just recrease this. I like them to be kind of centered. And this will be at the back. Bigger overlap, that's all. Closer to the size of this one now anyway. And so the tacky glue, for sure, I'm going to put a fair bit just because it's fighting against the fact that it's curling. And I can't really clamp most of that. I need to do this bottom edge too. It's really hard when they curl like that. So I'm going to go across here. Let's just do the whole thing. And we don't have to worry about where it's overlapping and where it isn't. And I think this can use all the help it can get. And add it. Just going to put some more up here too. I know more isn't always better, but I just feel like I want to give it lots of glue. And see, now this stuff just didn't stick down as well as I would have hoped. And I can't remember which plastic this was, but I'll go back and look at the video to see which one it was. It will stick. Put these across the bottom. And that can also be folded up and re-glued again if it isn't to my liking once it's done. Fold it to the back and re-glue it. So that's, well, and then I'll do this one just up here to hold this together. And then I didn't put something heavy on that one before, but I think it'll be okay. Like I say, this side will probably be glued down in the end. Still not even. I can go back and trim that later. So that's a couple of tall pockets. And then let's find a piece this is that piece that was really crinkly. It was Stampin' Up! Paper plastic wrapping, so very thin, crinkly stuff. And it really made the napkin crinkle because the paper or the plastic underneath crinkled. So I think what I'm going to do out of this one is a small envelope, and I shouldn't have done it with that label on. I'll cut right across here. I'll use that for something. Because this said bridal chorus, I thought this particular napkin had the most bridal-like look to it, although I know brides can have any color scheme these days. in my day, Dusty Rose was very popular. I didn't get married, but a lot of my friends had Dusty Rose, Dusty Pink, Burgundy. And I'll just glue the rest of this little bit of napkin down. And I think I'll do, even though that'll probably take away the word bridal, I think I'll do the same thing. Maybe just like this would be something I can do, is make a little accordion end at each side. This is pretty fragile paper, so this may not end up working very well. What I was thinking was to do a little accordion end, and then I've got some cardstock that will blend well with that color of music paper, just the craft color. So maybe what I'll do is glue that down with those folds in there, and so that that can open up a little bit, let some more stuff in. And I want to save that. I'm going to cut away that 75 when I cut my swoop, so I want to save it. I could probably cut it out after, but I've been saving these and putting them in my little book for decorating. But I'll take this and do oh, I'm not going to lose the word bridal. That's good. Just try to get that somewhat even. And then I'm not going to worry about the bottom edge being uneven, because I'll leave it up a bit and I'll put some lace there. So I'm going to glue along the bottom. I'm making this up as I go, if you hadn't noticed. This is tricky because this is kind of torn edges, and I don't know if I've got the right number of folds or if this would even work. There's only one way to know, and if it doesn't work, then I just start over and do something different. I think it's just because these papers are all crumpled, it doesn't seem like it wants to stick well. I'm going to clamp that. While it dries, we'll come back and see how it did. I'll have to cut this side to clamp it. Oh my goodness. Let's see how that experiment worked out in a few minutes. I did like the crumpled feeling of this, but I don't know. I could do that with glue just as easily. And that's what I think I'm finding, is that while the ironing was an interesting thing to try, I think I'll be more of a glue girl. And down here, if I want that to stick, I better do something. Maybe some paper clips. This big guy. And hold it. And there's a couple of covered paper clips I can use. I think I can use them. how tight that'll hold, but we'll come back and check on that in a few minutes. And then this one, yeah, I don't know if this glue will hold that plastic at all. Might need to be the tacky or the E6000 or something. What will I do with that? I think I'm going to set that one aside. I don't have an idea coming into me. The only problem I'm seeing with this for doing a bunch real quick is that it seems to need the clamps, and I'm out of clamps right at the moment. So I'm going to go to one of these that's not all curled up. So this is just beautiful. It's on white. That's the one where it was the paper, the ream of paper wrapping. It's got this thin plastic coating on one side. So I think maybe a couple of envelopes with this would be good. I'll cut it across. Maybe I'll use my trimmer so I get it straight. There's all the inner layers that I saved. I didn't plan this too rigidly. I just did a couple to see if it was going to work, and then I thought, okay, it's working, so I'll just do it. So if I cut right where those two flowers are coming together, sort of. Careful getting started. It's ripping. I should have put my sacrificial page there. That's something to use. I'm just going to move it over a touch. I think it's really time now for me to change this blade, and I don't know how to do it. I could also try a different trimmer. Get a couple of these boards. Let's see how it did. It doesn't feel like it did very well. Clean that up. It definitely went off at the end there. So this, whoops, sorry folks, sorry for the noise. This, I think, I did those A&W bags that one time, and they had like a little bit of a fold going on the corners before they joined in the back, and that way it would open up a bit. So maybe I'll do that. That's about for this way. That's fairly even. Similar to what I did with that crumpled one, but just a little tidier. And just get that all lined up straight along the bottom. And along the top, at the front, I'm going to do a scoop. At the back, I can leave it straight across. And I'll just cut it down a little bit further because of this tear. So maybe right above this flower. I think that'll get most of the tear out of it. And I'm just going to eye it because my cutter isn't really cooperating very well. I'll have to deal with that before the next video. like that. And then you always want to try to do these half circles before you glue things together. And just kind of center it up. And I don't think I'll ink this at all. If I want to ink it at the time, I can, but I think this is one that I'll want it clean and pretty. I just don't know whether to bother with that bottom edge, like folding it up or something. I think I'll just glue it down for now, and like I said, I can always add another strip of fabric or lace or even another coordinating paper. Let's see how that opens up a bit, and so it'll hold a little bit more ephemera. I found some of the pockets I was making in my last project on the weekend. They just weren't letting the paper slide in. They were too tight. The pockets were. So let's get that sitting down. And then this is where the tear is, so I'm going to go let the other piece be on top. So I'll just go along here with this tacky glue. Spread that glue a little bit in there. I'll just need to clean up my work desk a bit. And that'll still let that open. That's really pretty. I can see myself using that. And this can be in a journal, or it could just be something that you fill with ephemera to send to a friend. I'm doing plenty of swaps, and when you send a bunch of random little bits for collage or something, I've been putting them in little plastic bags, but this is cuter, I think. And nobody wants your old plastic bags, so I try to find little pouches and stuff that are cute to send stuff in. So making some is a good way to do it. So I'm happy with that one. Much happier than I think I'm going to be with the others. Let's see how the gluing went on this one. I'll free up some clamps. I need them. Yeah, I think that's going to be okay. It feels a little, I don't know, crinkly. This still wants to curl, but like I said, I'll probably glue that down in a book. And it'll take a big bookmark or a little notepad maybe inside of it. So yeah, those, I'd call those a win, not a fail. And then this one, is it going to glue up okay? Yeah, it feels like it's crinkly on the edges, but it is glued. It's not coming apart easily. You should be able to get stuff in and out of it without too much trouble. In fact, the fact that it's crimply might even help that. I really like the feel of this one, as odd as it is. And I can see maybe a button or something, closure to keep it closed, because it just wants to flip open because of the plastic on the one side. But once I put a couple of the discs or something with string wrapped around, it'll stay closed with stuff in it. And then see how this did. This tacky glue doesn't take too long to set up. So again, that one had those little gussets built into it and glued down onto the cardstock. I can do fancy edge or trim it close, whatever I want to do. But yeah, that has a bit more substance than just the paper would have. And that may end up going into a bridal journal just because of this. That's not bad. Round to some corners and stuff. What else can we make? Some of these other things. This one was a pretty couple of things, the mockingbird and the floral. That's that same floral. So see how it's curling? It's kind of hard to manage, but I'll trim it from this side so I can see what I'm doing. And again, I'm probably going to make a pocket, so I'm not too worried about whether this is perfect, this cut, because it'll be folded over. And it'll be the back of the pocket. Just want to get rid of the excess. Try to train it a little bit to be flat and try like curling it back the other direction. That helped a little bit. This is pretty fragile. That was the cereal bag liner. Okay, so I have the two different prints here. I didn't intend to use them together, so I'm just going to cut along the bottom of this green napkin and do this mockingbird one. Kind of too low pockets in this. Look at it. I'm following the music paper to get my line kind of straight. I'll do this one first, and if I fold it, get those two birds on the front. And then put my the only problem with this is that you're seeing that in behind it's not coming all the way together. So what I can do there is put a little liner in there of some coffee dyed paper maybe. Just getting my top roll here of my cream colored scraps, and I've got a little piece of, it's kind of got like a lattice design in it, which I really like. So this is actually too tall here. So I'll use this lining up with the top edge. Actually, that could be glue stick on the back of this. I'll just snip it off there. Like that. And that way that's what you see. And then I'll just put a piece to place these two together on the back. And I would strongly imagine that this is going to be the side that's not seen. It'll be glued into a book, but I'll still use the coffee dye just since it's right here. It could be anything if it's going to be glued down. And I use the glue stick so it shouldn't transfer through to the paper inside there, and glue it shut. If I keep that apart while it dries, that glue stick dries pretty quick. And then the bottom just has to be glued up. And again, you can decorate it with more paper down here, or fabric, or lace when that time comes. I'll just go ahead and glue it shut. It could also be sliding along a belly band if it didn't have the notch in it, maybe. Squeeze that glue out. I have another one of my napkin liners. So that's cute, the two little birds. Nothing that I couldn't have done with the glue stick though, still. And then this one I was really kind of hoping to keep the mockingbird thing, but is that enough? I guess so. And then I can still keep that 66. That's the year I was born, so I want to keep that. And I'll do the same thing with this. I know this is getting kind of repetitive, but I know I'll use these. So I'm doing more of them. And that one, I don't mind that the word bird is cut off, but I think I'm going to fix it anyway. So, get rid of that E. Just for symmetry's sake. I should have centered them better on that, but that's all right. Again, we'll go across the bottom, just even it up. And now my scoop is way off. So instead of that, let's just give it a deckled edge on top. It's a bit different. Do I want to put a little tiny pleat in those sides, as long as it'll still overlap, or I can seam up the back again. There we go, it does overlap, and that'll give it a little more room. So probably this is mostly what I would do with these, especially on paper. But let's get to that cardstock one. I'm interested to see what that turned out like. Whether it curled. fold this along the bottom again. These don't hold very tight, but at least it's got some pressure on it so it doesn't just come apart like it's trying to there on the corner. And then one up at the top just to keep that seam together. And we'll check that out again in a few minutes. I want to do this one. Curled quite a bit. And the cranes didn't turn out to be as visible against the black. The plasticization isn't really sticking. So I don't know if that one I could call a success. I think I'd have to call that one a fail. Maybe salvageable, but I think in general it's not really what I would hope. I would have been able to do much better just with my glue stick. Let's do this. Go the opposite way first. And that way, when I crease it, it kind of mangles the paper a bit, so at least that'll be on the inside where my signature would be bound in, because I was thinking of this as a journal cover. And you know, maybe I can work with the fact that it's a bit crinkly and wrinkly. Try some glue stick here and see if that does the trick. I have a feeling it won't. I'm feeling it might hold for right now, but not forever. See how it wants to separate? Might not have been hot enough. And again, I might be able to reheat it and get it under some weight to fix it, but I'm not sure. So I don't know if that one was a success. I think I would have been much more successful just using my glue stick and I wouldn't have the curling issues. But I could also attach this to more cardstock and then make it sturdy that way. Let me just grab another piece of the black. And just see if that helps. I'll do this and then I'll put it underneath the weights while I finish the video and we'll see how that turns out. A good coating without going back and spreading it out. It might not be enough glue. Paper is a little thirsty. It's cardstock, and I don't think it's the greatest quality. It's thick, but there's no sheen on it, so I feel like it might absorb the glue in and not allow the glue to do its job of sticking the two pages together, if you know what I mean. Maybe some heat from my hand and pressure. I'll get that under some weight and see if that does it. It feels like it might do the trick. Just around the other side of the table over to my sideboard. And I'll just stick that underneath my stone countertop sample. And then let's see if we want to do one more. let's slice this guy up to make some dessert pockets. And maybe for around the outside edge, just so I don't have to be so precise, I will do a little band of scallop. It's a little more forgiving than trying to do an even white border. I think it's easier to fussy cut something a little smaller than this. So that's that. And that's just a lot more durable to use than the napkin. And what I was thinking was maybe not a quarter of a watermelon, but a third of a watermelon would be sort of the vibe I'd be going for, even though a quarter would sit in the corner of a page better. Maybe that's what I'll do, is I'll do one that's a quarter and one that's a sliver and one that's about a third, and then we'll just see how that works on a pocket. As a pocket, this one will work well because I can glue it here and here, here and here, and then you can have it as a tuck spot. These ones will be trickier to figure out, but I think I can figure something out for them. So I'm happy with that. And then last one, let's just cut this ice cream cone out, and it'll be used the same way as a tuck spot likely. And I started off with the straight scissors. When I get up to the ice cream, I think I'll switch. And then from the next few projects, if I'm using these, I'll remind you of where we did these together, and you can see how they ultimately ended up working out. I think they're going to be some good projects, but I think I'll use my glue stick a lot more from now on rather than trying to get my iron out. I did like using the butcher's paper. I'll probably show you how that worked out. Here's a small one of the butcher's paper. And again, I will follow the line on the napkin to keep myself straight. And this side. And here. The one I was really hopeful for was the one-sided scrapbook paper. I think if I do that in the future, which I probably will, I'll just use the glue stick because it curled right up into a little tube. Kind of non-usable the way it is. And I think if I iron it, it won't fix it. So that gives me a nice rectangle of that butcher paper with the peach gingham, which will be cute in a food journal or a summer journal, however I decide to use it. So I'll leave you with that, and as I say, as I use them in projects, I'll refer back to this video so that you can see them again and see how they ended up getting used. And I want to thank you for joining me for both of these videos and all of the napkin play videos. I enjoy working with the napkins, and I'm trying to try all the different techniques for you so that you can see how they work, and maybe you'll see something that I'm doing wrong and find a better way. I hope you'll let me know. If you really like one of these, let me know that too. Like, comment, share, subscribe, But most of all, have a nice day. Thanks for watching.